Welcome back to Talking Winter Ops. It's that time of year again when we sit down with other organizations working in winter maintenance to catch up on what they've been doing this past year. I'm Rick Nelson, and I'll be your host for the 2026 National Winter Maintenance and Road Weather Briefing Series. These briefings give us an opportunity to catch up with our partners in winter maintenance and road weather, learn about what they've been working on over the past year, and hear about their plans for the future. More importantly, they give you a chance to see how these ideas, tools, and initiatives might fit into your own operation. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize the organizations that make these briefings possible. First, a big thank you to the AASHTO Winter Weather Management Technical Service Program, the sponsor of Talkin' Winter Ops, its parent committee, the AASHTO Committee on Maintenance, and its close partners in the Maintenance Operations Technical Working Group. And of course, thanks to the state DOTs whose annual contributions to the Winter Weather Management Technical Service Program make it all possible. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's catch up with our partners across the country to hear about what's new and what's coming up next. This segment focuses on the Aurora Pool Fund Study, and James Roath from Michigan DOT and Chair of Aurora is here to fill us in on what's going on. Hi, James.
Yep. How are we doing, Rick?
Good, thanks.
Good. Yeah. So happy to be on and give my little bit of the Aurora update. So I'll go ahead and get started. So yeah, my name is James Roath with the Michigan DOT. I'm the chair this year. So I'll just, without further ado, I'll get started with the Aurora Pool Fund update. So we're basically a collaboration of states, heavily involved with researching road weather technologies to help with operations and really the motoring public and their safety. I could probably go on and on about what more Aurora is about, but I think that is really encompasses what we like to be about as far as our research and the projects we select. So we are currently with 17 states, and I say currently because there's potentially a couple that may be joining. Hopefully, I guess we'll see. But as we know how those things work with all that. So, but these are the states in our current map. As you can see, we stretch pretty well across the state or across the country. Excuse me. So we get a good variety of weather that talks, and then also the different people in our group. It ranges from engineers to meteorologists and other research folks. So we have some pretty productive conversations, and when we're selecting projects, we usually have pretty interesting opinions, and usually we can settle on some good topics and research we want to look into. So as I said, if you couldn't tell from my picture there, I'm from Michigan DOT. The vice chair currently is Kevin Doobie from Arizona DOT. Of course, our pool fund lead is Iowa, and with Tina Greenfield, and we're managed by Iowa State University with Zach and Neil. And of course, I also need to give a shout out to Judy Thomas as she helps make everything go. And then along with Kyle Clute, who handles a lot of the research background side of things, working with each state's research group, and just having to deal with all those things, of course, keeping us on board and on track with what we need to be doing as a group. So didn't want to forget mentioning those two folks. So our typical year for Aurora is we meet once monthly virtually. We have an in-person meeting once in the spring and once in the fall. Every other year, we shoot for having what's called a Friends of Aurora, which is essentially a meeting about a day that we have vendors join us and other researchers. It's a very, very productive time for us. We get to hear from researchers and the vendors out there on what they have going on. They also get to hear from us about things that we would like to see, or things that we would like to see develop that may not already be happening out there. So there's a lot of productive conversations that are had for that during the meeting, of course, after the meeting hours. And I know we've had multiple meetings with vendors after to kind of discuss looking at some of the things that they do. So it's a very, very great thing that I think that we do with Aurora. We also do a joint meeting with Clear Roads and AASHTO. That we had our first one. I guess I'll click to the next slide here. We did have our first one of this decade in the fall in Minnesota last year, which was great. I mean, it's a lot, as you can kind of see in that picture. There's a lot of people in the room. Clear Roads, of course, is a much larger group than Aurora, but it was, I think, a very well kept along meeting, very productive. First one we've had in a long time, so it was good to get the group together. We also, as an Aurora group, were able to we venture out and do a little bit of, I guess you could call, field trips, checking out the state we're in, visiting either a research facility, or if there's a vendor that has invited us to sit through some presentations, we've done that. Down in the spring meeting last year, we were up in Anchorage, Alaska. We were actually able to go and have a little bit of a tour of the Ted Stevens Airport. Got to listen to and see a lot of the maintenance things that they do. I know Mike Chapman last year when he gave this update, he gave a good update on our picture there and what we did while we were in Alaska. So that was definitely a great trip for us. This spring we were down in Richmond, Virginia. We were able to take a tour of the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. They do a lot of crash testing on vehicles. We were actually able to be there for a crash test that they did. The picture of the vehicle that was crash tested is in the bottom right of the screen. So that was pretty cool to see. It's just interesting to hear, from their perspective on, when it comes to safety and vehicles, things like that. It kind of just gives us, as we're trying to improve our technologies and what's out there, obviously, to limit crashes and issues that are out on the roadway. Just kind of it was a good visit to just kind of see some eye-opening things as far as what's out there as far as vehicle safety and how much they've improved over the years. So that was another cool field trip that we were able to do. Being a smaller group kind of allows us to do those things. So our research idea solicitation is a little bit unique. We kind of put it out there, and research universities and their groups kind of send us their ideas on topics that they feel would be good for a research project. We then narrow down that list to about 8. This year it was 8. Sometimes it's less than that, depending on how they grade out with our system and when we're all reviewing them on our own. And then at our spring meeting, we sit and listen to some presentations that kind of give us it's a little bit more focused on what their plan is with the research project and what we can expect. So we had them do recording sessions this year because it kind of helps limit the time. Otherwise, some of the researchers can end up going beyond their time that we want to block for them. And to be fair to each of the proposals in the universities, we try to limit that time so everyone has an equal time to present to us. Then from there, this year we did select one project, and that is in talks right now with contracts and everything. So pretty sure that will be public news probably soon, or hopefully soon. But we did select one project this year. This fall, it is another year for Friends of Aurora, so that'll be in Colorado Springs. That will be another good one, as our list has grown with the vendors that would like to attend that. So I do not have an exact number off the top of my head, but Zach and Neil could probably have that information on how many we're up to. But it is going to be a solid group. So I'll go over some of the recently completed projects. First one, connected vehicle friction measurements for winter operations. This one was a little bit interesting just because we're working with connected vehicles. Some states have a little bit more of that data out there than others right now, because since we're not able to see all of the connected vehicle data with some of the American manufacturers kind of limiting access to a little bit of that. More of the European models that we were able to see, some states had a little bit more of that, so they were able to kind of get a little bit better picture of their state and some of their routes and see that. Just so did a little bit of an evaluation across a few DOTs with ranging amounts of that data that's out there. So that was a pretty interesting project for us. Of course, the friction and grip is a very, very hot topic, and our group, of course, is trying to stay involved in that, along with connected vehicle, and just how well we can incorporate that and use all that information. Another completed project, automated winter road surface condition monitoring and estimation using ARWIS and fleet dash cameras. This one, I guess I can simply kind of state that it's one of the projects that would be considered like bridging a gap. There's a lot of data out there as far as like images and other road surface information, and it's just kind of a way to see how all that can be used in a tool and how it can all be kind of put together to paint a good picture of what's going on and how DOTs could use that, or the motoring public could kind of benefit from a lot of that data that is out there. So automating variable speed limits using weather, traffic, and friction data. Of course, variable speed limits is a very big topic for a lot of states, and everyone's trying to figure out, their best way that they can utilize the different weather data and information that's out there to the best of their abilities to kind of adapt their variable speed limit areas and their routes that are. I know we have here in Michigan a region that was very interested in this project, as they are getting heavily involved in variable speed limits. So just kind of really starting to get an understanding on all the data that we're able to kind of collect and how it can be utilized for that space is really the summary for that one.
Hey, James, is that VSL project, is that still ongoing, or is that pretty close to being done, or where are you with that?
That one's been published. I forget which month it was, I think, officially published and posted. I would have to look at our website, but that one should be, I think, about done now.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. One more here, an intelligent, human-centric communication system for adverse weather and road conditions. There's a lot of language in there, but I think the biggest thing with this one is really attempting to reach the public and getting weather info to a variety of users. I think Caltrans is actually looking to implement some of this, so we're kind of listening and following along with how things go for them with some of what they implement from this. So of course, AI powered knowledge, I mean, that is huge right now, and trying to understand like what all we can use for that and how it can benefit us. So while it's a completed project, that is obviously very much a developing and ongoing area that it wouldn't surprise we have further projects that end up going down this route. So standardized framework for winter weather road condition indices. This one is kind of just a really early topic for this, and figuring out a way of standardizing some of the road weather conditions. So don't have a ton more to sum up on this one. It's pretty straightforward, I guess, with the title and the description and objectives we have listed there with the connected vehicle technology. So So for our active projects, currently we have a micro weather risk assessment for post-storm roadway safety. The objectives listed here are kind of a little bit tough with some of the language. So just to give you a more, I guess, better understanding very quickly is just that it's a way to try and flag certain routes that you're trying to get an understanding of why there might be refreezing issues or just, trouble issues in a post-storm situation. So it's a way to try and flag that so states can kind of get an understanding of their areas that they can be aware that typically have issues with refreezing or having some type of a potential problem after storms. Like I said, I know the language there may be a little foggy and not be clear. So that is the best way that I can put it. Hopefully, I think folks can understand. So we have a deployment of Pike Alert for Aurora. This is a interesting research topic just because we were able to kind of get our eyes on this system, the Pike Alert system. In the picture, you can see I-75 that runs up north and south through Michigan down into Ohio, and then the I-70 stretch that goes all the way from Utah all the way over to Ohio. Those are the two main stretches that we had on this project, along with the RWIS that were near this stretch of highway. So in Michigan, it was an interesting thing for us, which unfortunately our RWIS we're actually going through a little bit of a change with the vendor that is hosting and kind of sending out our API for that data. So it was a little bit of a letdown for us as far as not being able to always see our RWIS on here and kind of being able to compare and see what what was going on in here versus some of our other ways that we have of seeing that data. So it was because Colorado had done some work with NCAR to incorporate friction and grip into their system. So that was kind of cool to see that in real time just be implemented right away and see how states could potentially see that out there. And in Michigan, it was, like I said, a little bit of a letdown since we were going through that change and didn't necessarily get the experience of seeing that data all the time as storms were blowing through this last winter. So, but a cool project nonetheless, something that states probably like us wouldn't be able to kind of see and do if it weren't for being able to do a project like this through the pooled fund. So another one here is the roadway friction forecasting using stationary and mobile friction data. Again, it's another one that's pretty straightforward as far as explaining what the purpose of this one is, gathering measurements from our stationary but also mobile. Some states have a little bit more of the mobile friction than others, so just trying to get an idea of the use cases for them and how it can be combined, and kind of developing that model for machine learning to try and predict the friction. So we'll see how that one goes. The picture here is just kind of, I guess, a real overview and kind of give people a snapshot of really what Aurora is all about as far as the data and management of it, and all the different technologies from things that are on our snowplows to our road weather stations on the side of the road, both the full systems and the smaller ones, and just kind of how it's all connected. And of course, the connected vehicle mobile friction data, all that is, we, as much as we like to get our hands on it, we also need to understand how we can really best utilize it when we do get our hands on it. So this is just a picture that we like to show that kind of gives I think a real overview of what Aurora is all about. So that pretty much concludes my update. Again, I'm James Roath, Michigan DOT. And then, so that pretty much does it, I think.
All right. Thanks, James. So, what we'll do is in the show notes, we'll put a link to the Aurora website so folks can go out there and take a look at your past research and the work that's underway. And in addition to posting some email addresses. So, if they want to get in touch and learn more about Aurora or more about a specific project, they'll be able to find their way to you guys.
Awesome. Oh, that sounds great.
Well, James, thanks for sharing what's going on with Aurora. We really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to catching up with you in the future.
Thank you very much, Rick. Appreciate being on.
Thanks for listening in on this year's National Briefing. You can catch them all and other Talkin' Winter Ops episodes on our website, talkinwinterops.com, at the AASHTO Winter Weather Management website at transportation.org/winter-weather-management, or wherever you get your podcast content. Video versions of this briefing are available on our Talkin' Winter Ops YouTube channel. Now, if something in this briefing sparked your interest, you can email me or our guests to keep the conversation going. Until next time, thanks for tuning in and stay safe out there.